A sleek black SUV pulls up to a vineyard estate in Napa Valley. The door opens, and I step out in a champagne-colored Dior gown that catches the California sunset perfectly. Cameras flash, whispers ripple through the crowd. Is that her? His daughter? Someone gasps. That's Naomi Hayes, from Prestige Collective. My father stands frozen near the entrance, his face pale. He hasn't seen me in 23 years. And now, I'm here, at his wedding, not as the broken little girl he abandoned, but as the woman who built an empire without him. I was 8 years old when I still believed my father hung the moon. His name was Gerald, and back then he was my hero. We lived in a comfortable house in suburban Connecticut, nothing extravagant, but we were happy. My mother, Patricia, was a nurse at the local hospital, and my father worked as a pharmaceutical sales director. He traveled sometimes, but he always came home with stories and a gift for me. I remember waiting by the window on Friday evenings, watching for his car to pull into the driveway. My mother made our house a home. She cooked Sunday dinners, helped me with homework, braided my hair every morning before school. We were a family, or at least, I thought we were. When you're a child, you don't see the cracks forming. You don't notice when your father starts staying late at the office more often, or when the warmth in his eyes starts to fade when he looks at your mother. By the time I turned 10, those cracks had become canyons. My father missed my birthday that year. He called from some hotel in Boston, his voice distant and distracted. "I'm sorry, Princess. Work emergency. I'll make it up to you." He never did. My mother made me a cake anyway, stuck 10 candles in it, and sang happy birthday with tears in her eyes that she tried to hide. I blew out those candles and wished for my daddy to come home. Be careful what you wish for. 2 years later, when I was 12, he came home all right, but not the way I'd hoped. I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was a Tuesday evening in October. He walked in, didn't even take off his coat, and said, "Patricia, Naomi, we need to talk." His voice was cold, clinical, like he was delivering a sales pitch. He sat us down in our own living room and told us he was leaving. Not for work this time. For good. "I've met someone else," he said, as casually as if he was commenting on the weather. "Her name is Veronica. We've been seeing each other for 2 years. I want a divorce." My mother's hand gripped mine so tight I thought my bones would break. I looked at my father, this man I'd adored my entire life, and I didn't recognize him. "What about Naomi?" my mother whispered. He barely glanced at me. "She'll be fine. Kids are resilient." The divorce was swift and brutal. My father fought against custody, offered the bare minimum in child support. He wanted a clean break, a fresh start with his new life, his new love. Veronica was younger, white, worked in his office. 8 months later they were married. He moved to Massachusetts, bought a new house, started over. And I became a ghost from his past, an inconvenient reminder of the life he'd discarded. I tried calling him at first. Sunday evenings, I'd dial his new number, my hands shaking. Sometimes he'd answer, distracted. "Hey, kiddo, I'm actually busy right now. Can I call you back?" He never did. The birthday cards stopped coming. Christmas presents became checks with no note attached. Then even those stopped. A year after he remarried, Veronica had twin boys. My father had the sons he'd apparently always wanted, and just like that, I was erased. Life changed overnight. We moved from our comfortable house to a cramped 2-bedroom apartment on the other side of town. My mother worked double shifts, nursing during the day, catering on weekends. I watched her leave before dawn and come home after dark, exhaustion etched into every line of her face. She never complained, not once. Instead, she'd kiss my forehead and say, "We're going to be just fine, baby. We don't need anyone to make us whole." But I felt the absence like a physical wound. At school, kids whispered. They knew. In a small town, everyone knows when a father leaves. I wore secondhand clothes while my classmates showed up in the latest fashions. I brought packed lunches while they bought hot meals. Some kids were cruel about it. Others just pitied me. I'm not sure which was worse. I learned to keep my head down, to pour everything into my grades, to pretend I didn't care that my father had chosen a new family over me. When I turned 16, I got a job at a coffee shop downtown. My mother didn't want me to work, wanted me to focus on school, but I insisted. I couldn't watch her kill herself for us anymore. I worked before school, after school, weekends. Every dollar I made, I saved. My mother cried the first time I handed her money to help with rent. "You shouldn't have to do this," she said. "You're the child." But I didn't feel like a child anymore. My father had taken that from me. Despite everything, I excelled. I graduated high school with honors, got a partial scholarship to State University for hotel management. People thought it was an odd choice, but I had a plan. I'd worked at that coffee shop long enough to see how the other half lived. The wealthy customers who ordered without looking at prices, who tipped in 20s, who carried themselves with the confidence that comes from never having to worry. I wanted to understand that world. More than that, I wanted to enter it. College was 4 years of grinding. I worked 3 jobs: waitressing at a high-end steakhouse, front desk at a boutique hotel on weekends, and catering for private events. I learned everything: how to pair wine with food, how to anticipate what wealthy clients wanted before they asked, how to move through exclusive spaces with confidence, even when I was dead on my feet. My mother's diabetes diagnosis in my junior year nearly broke me. The medical bills were crushing. But I worked harder, slept less, pushed through. I graduated at 22 with a degree in hospitality management and business, $5,000 in savings, and a job offer at a luxury hotel in Manhattan. My mother was so proud she cried at my graduation. My father didn't come. I hadn't invited him. I hadn't spoken to him in nearly 10 years. The Manhattan job changed everything. I started as a junior events coordinator, the lowest position in the department. But I was good, really good. I paid attention to details others missed. I remembered client preferences, dietary restrictions, family birthdays. I made people feel seen. Within 2 years, I was managing events for some of the city's wealthiest families. That's when I met Claudette Dupont. She was a French luxury brand heiress, notorious for being impossible to please. She'd fired 3 event coordinators in 6 months. When she came to plan her daughter's engagement party, my boss literally begged me to take the meeting. "She's a nightmare," he warned. "But if you can handle her, it'll make your career." Claudette was demanding, particular, and had impossibly high standards. But I recognized something in her. She wasn't mean, she was exacting. She knew what she wanted and refused to settle. So I didn't flinch. I met every demand, exceeded every expectation, and when she tried to rattle me, I stayed calm and professional. By the end of the planning process, she asked me to lunch. "You're wasted here," she said, sipping her wine. "How would you like to work for me? I need someone to manage my properties, my events, my life, someone I can actually trust." I almost laughed. "I can't afford to move to Paris," I said. She named a salary that made my head spin. "Can you afford it now?" I called my mother that night, terrified. "It's Paris, Mom. I'd be so far away." She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Baby, when a door like this opens, you don't just walk through it. You run. I'll be fine. You fly." So I did. Working for Claudette was like getting a PhD in luxury. I managed her properties in Paris, Monaco, and New York. I planned events for guests who shaped global policy and culture. I learned to negotiate with the best, to command respect in rooms full of powerful people, and Claudette, in her own way, became a mentor. She paid me well, invested in my growth, and when I told her about my background, she said something I'll never forget. "Naomi, people who come from nothing and build something are far more impressive than those who simply inherit. Never forget that." After 6 years, I'd saved and invested wisely. Real estate partnerships, luxury service startups. By 30, my net worth had crossed 7 figures. But I wanted more. I wanted to build something that was mine. So with Claudette's blessing and backing, I launched Prestige Collective, a luxury concierge firm catering to the ultra-wealthy. We handled everything: private jets, estate management, exclusive event access, personal shopping, crisis management. The business exploded. Within 3 years, we had offices in 5 countries and a client list that read like a who's who of global elites. By the time I turned 35, my company was valued at $180 million. I'd bought my mother a house, paid off all her medical bills, and set her up for life. I owned a penthouse in Manhattan and lived a life I couldn't have imagined as that broken 12-year-old girl. And through it all, my father remained a ghost. A few awkward phone calls over the years, Christmas, maybe a birthday. Always surface level, always brief. He never asked about my life, never acknowledged what he'd done. His second wife, Veronica, died of cancer 2 years ago. I sent flowers. He sent a text. Thanks. Then, 3 months ago, an envelope arrived at my office. Thick, expensive cardstock. A wedding invitation. Gerald Hayes and Simone Fletcher request the honor of your presence. The wedding was set for a vineyard estate in Napa Valley, one of the most exclusive venues in the country. The invitation was impersonal, formal. I was clearly an afterthought, someone added to the list out of obligation. My assistant looked at it and said, "Are you going?" I stared at that invitation for a long time, 23 years. That's how long it had been since I'd seen my father in person. Part of me wanted to throw it away, to let him stay in the past where he belonged. But another part of me, the part that had clawed its way out of poverty and built an empire, that part wanted something different. I called the vineyard. The events manager answered, and when I gave my name, her tone changed immediately. "Ms. Hayes, what a pleasure. How can I help you?" I smiled. "I'll be attending a wedding there next month. I'd like to book the presidential suite and arrange some special services. We'd worked together before. I'd planned 2 major events at that venue. She knew exactly who I was. I didn't tell my father I was coming. I didn't RSVP. I just made my plans. Custom gown from Dior, hair and makeup team, private car service. I wasn't attending this wedding as the abandoned daughter crawling back for scraps of affection. I was attending as Naomi Hayes, founder and CEO of Prestige Collective. I was attending as the woman who made it without him. The night before the wedding, I called my mother. "I'm going to Dad's wedding tomorrow," I said. There was silence on the line. Then, "Baby, why? After everything—" I cut her off gently. "Closure, Mom. I need to see him and realize that I don't need his approval anymore. I need to prove to myself that I'm not that little girl waiting by the window for him to come home." She sighed. "Then you go show him exactly who you became without him." The day was perfect. California sunshine, rolling vineyards, mountains in the distance. My car pulled up to the entrance where photographers waited to capture the society wedding. When I stepped out, the cameras immediately started flashing. A few photographers recognized me from business publications. "Ms. Hayes, Naomi Hayes from Prestige Collective." The whispers started immediately among the gathered guests. I walked into the reception area like I owned it, because in a way I did. I'd planned events in this very space. The staff recognized me, greeted me warmly. Other guests watched, curious about this woman who commanded such attention. My father's new wife, Simone, was greeting VIP guests near the entrance. She smiled at me politely, clearly not knowing who I was. "Welcome," she said. "How do you know Gerald?" I smiled back, gracious and warm. "I'm Naomi, his daughter." The color drained from her face. She stammered something, excused herself quickly. I watched as she rushed to find my father, watched as hurried whispers spread through the crowd like wildfire. My half-brothers approached. Grown men now, mid-20s, awkward and uncertain. They'd been children when their father left me behind. "Naomi?" the older one asked. "We didn't think you'd come." I was kind to them. Whatever sins my father committed, these boys were innocent. "Congratulations to your father," I said simply. Then I saw him. Gerald. He was 63 now, grayer than I remembered, smaller somehow. He walked toward me like he was approaching a ghost, his face pale, his hands shaking slightly. We stood there in the middle of his wedding reception, father and daughter, strangers bound by blood and broken promises. "Naomi," he breathed. "You came. You look. He couldn't finish. I smiled, calm and composed. "Hello, Dad. Congratulations on your wedding." He glanced around nervously. His wealthy guests were watching, whispering. Someone nearby asked Simone, "Who is that woman?" I heard her response. "Gerald's daughter. From his first marriage." A business associate of my father's approached, a man I recognized from industry events. "Naomi Hayes? From Prestige Collective?" He shook my hand enthusiastically, ignoring my father. "I've been trying to get in touch with your office. We need your services for an event in Dubai." My father's face went from pale to red. He was realizing in real time exactly who I'd become. The vineyard owner himself came over, greeting me like an old friend. "Naomi, I didn't know you'd be here. Are you working this event?" I laughed. "No, just attending. Family obligation." He looked between my father and me, understanding dawning. "Well, wonderful to see you as always." I didn't cause a scene. I didn't need to. I simply existed in that space, gracious, elegant, successful. I spoke to guests who knew my reputation, networked naturally, carried myself with the confidence of someone who belonged in rooms far more exclusive than this one. And my father watched it all, understanding slowly settling over him like a weight. This was his daughter, the child he'd abandoned, and she'd become extraordinary without him. Before I left, he found me on the terrace, away from the crowd. "Naomi, he started, then stopped. "You've done well for yourself." I turned to him, and for the first time in 23 years, I looked at my father and felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no pain, no longing, just emptiness. "No thanks to you," I said quietly. He flinched. "I know I wasn't there. I was young, stupid. I made mistakes." I held up a hand. "You were 38 years old when you left, Dad. A grown man with a 12-year-old daughter. You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice. You chose your comfort over your child. You chose your new life over the one you'd built. And you know what? I'm not here for your apology. I'm not here to reconcile. I'm here because I wanted to look at you and realize that I stopped needing your approval a long time ago." His eyes filled with tears. "Naomi, please." I shook my head. "Enjoy your wedding, Dad. Enjoy your new wife. Your new life. I hope it makes you happy." I walked away, my head high, my heart light. Behind me, I heard him say my name one more time, broken and desperate. I didn't turn around. In the days after the wedding, photos circulated through social media and society publications. There were pictures of me arriving, of me speaking with influential guests, of the moment my father realized who I was. People talked. They always do in those circles. Gerald's friends and business associates whispered about the successful daughter he'd abandoned, the empire she'd built without him. His reputation took a quiet hit. Nothing dramatic, but enough. Enough for him to feel a fraction of what I'd felt. My half-brothers reached out afterward, wanting to build a relationship. I was open but cautious. They were kind young men, and none of this was their fault. My father sent an email, long, rambling, full of excuses and regrets. I read it once and deleted it. Some doors, once closed, should stay that way. I returned to my penthouse, to my life, to my empire. I video called my mother, and when her face appeared on the screen, I smiled. "How was it, baby?" she asked. I thought about that question for a moment. It was exactly what I needed, Mom. I saw him and I felt nothing. No anger, no pain. Just pity. Pity for a man who threw away something precious because he couldn't see its value. My mother's eyes shimmered with tears. "I'm so proud of you. Not for your success, not for your money. I'm proud because you chose to rise instead of letting him define you." And that was it, really. The whole truth of it. My father's abandonment could have destroyed me. It should have broken me. Instead, it forged me into something stronger than he could ever imagine. I didn't need my father's love to become successful. I had my mother's strength, my own determination, and a burning need to prove, not to him, but to myself, that I was worthy of everything I achieved. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living so well that your absence in someone's life becomes their loss, not yours. My father lost me the day he walked out that door. I just made sure he understood exactly what he'd lost. If this story moved you, Hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible stories of resilience and redemption. Drop a comment below. Have you ever had to face someone who underestimated you? How did it feel? Share your story with me. And remember, your worth isn't determined by who walks away from you. It's determined by how you rise after they're gone. See you in the next one.